Welcome back to another video on Gearsaw Studios, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build yourself this pink cheery cafe. Or it could be a cheery cherry cafe or something like that. I don't know, I'm not a very cute person. But anyways, you can see from the back it has realistic things like a dumpster. It has a functioning in quotation marks kitchen with some real little signs. And then, we have all our little amenities, sea lanterns hidden in the floor, our generic motivational poster or anti-motivational poster, and a bunch of cute little amenities like a keyboard right there. So, it's a cute little build. Now, let's get into it on how we actually build this. Starting off, find yourself a flat area. It doesn't have to be a city, but if you have one lying around, then it would probably fit better there. And now, what we want to do is go by any sidewalk, or if you're just building this in the middle of nowhere, go to that spot. And then, we want to make a wall. Make it initially just out of nether brick. And then, what we want to do is have this bottom layer stay nether brick, and make this alternating between cherry and white terracotta. And this creates a nice little effect. I've been told I need to include more cute builds, but judging by the nether brick, I'm already failing at not making it menacing. But anyways, we can cut out some windows on here, and we can do a little awning. Essentially this wool piece, yeah, that's called an awning. And how you do that is you put down two little beams on either side and surround some wool, preferably alternating colors, with some block of your choice. I thought that the purple matched, nether brick, but potentially another block might work better, like dark oak. But either way, the block choice doesn't matter too much. From here, cut out some windows, and then place stairs under them. This adds a little bit of depth. I know that technically glass panes are off-centered by one, you can see the bottom of them, but still, it's a welcome effect. So yeah, now here's your first wall. Make it almost an L-shaped building, add an entrance right here. A bit of a jump cut here, I know it looks a little daunting, but this is actually all very easy to explain. You can see here, this one wall with the awning, by the way, it's changed, I'm not going to explain it, you can pause if you want to take a look at it. Adding slabs here, but yeah, very simple awning, use carpets. And then we have walls all around here, no windows yet, it's just generic. And now, what we want to do is make a little cutout right here. Essentially, don't make a rectangle or a square for a building. Make two of them pressed together. And then we can cut out a little piece right here. The idea behind this is that the wood breaks up a bit of the building. And you can see it certainly does. From the front, we have this part, and then we have this little piece with the taller bit, and then we have the wood. This is what we want. But anyways, we have that, the nice striped walls. And then when we go inside, very simple floor pattern using pale and birch stripped logs. Notice the changing directions. And then we made a cutout right here. This is to make sure we have room for a kitchen and storage, because all these little cafes look cute, and then you realize they wouldn't work in real life, and I kind of like realism. And yes, we'll probably be including a dumpster back here as a result. But anyways, that's the general idea. We want something to look like a real cafe and not just look at my cute little model. You get what I mean? But anyways, up here at the tops of the walls, we also have this wood. This wood helps separate the tops of the walls from the ceiling, and to hide a little bit of the blockiness that building in Minecraft often entails, while still keeping that nice city aesthetic. Along with that, we also have that coloration, makes it a bit more cheery, I think. But anyways, we're going to do that, and then we have the taller bit right here, and here's an example. We can put cafe on these banners, so that way it looks cool. And finally, before we finish up the walls, do a generic ceiling. I'm probably going to do something like smooth quartz or something. Don't overthink it. Well, what I want to do is add little seating areas. We can use heavy weighted pressure plates here, but it's up to you whether you want to get that technical. But something like this, or on either side we have stairs, this would be good enough for a lot of people. This would be good enough for me. However, I decided not today. Let's place these little red banners in the ground, and then we place a stair above them, and although they're a bit darker, you can see they are in fact little pillows now. Now let's put signs on this, and we have a cute little seating area. Doesn't have to be perfectly lined up to the window. In fact, it might be a little bit better, because you can see this one's connecting to the wall. let's include little details like that, and it really helps the build appear a bit more lively, interesting, all that. Real quick, I did a palette swap here, and you can see it looks very different. I was told it was a little bit too dreary and such, and yeah, I have trouble not building ominous, hence why I'm trying to do this. But regardless, you can see here, dark oak has become spruce. These red things, they're very desaturated. It's because you actually need to light them up. Yeah, so hide some lighting down here. But anyways, back up, you can see it's all looking pretty. Nether brick has become andesite, and then their walls are diorite now. We have a few banners acting as placeholders. This will say cafe later. And anyways, right back to the building, try incorporating a lot of plants into it. You can see right here we have some oak leaves. Maybe incorporate more. Potentially the whole roof should be moss. You could even do something like a more traditional house roof with it being at an angle and build it completely out of moss. Essentially, let's try incorporating a bunch of greenery into it because people love plants. Now I've overcomplicated the landscape, and it looks really good. A lot of it was oak leaves, and then I incorporated some flowering azalea, and then I included some cherry. And you can see how that works. Right here I even made a whole roof out of it, and it works really well. We have a bunch of spruce here, kind of done in a more tower-like design. I guess some habits never go away. But yep, we now have a really nice building here. And above it, we have a bunch of double tall flowers organized in a haphazard manner with a little bit of flowering azalea. Then I just applied bone meal to the rest of the roof because honestly I don't really care about that part. But from the bottom, along with these little trapdoors carrying up leaves, this looks really cute. This looks like a place you'd actually want to go in real life. So let's continue doing that. Right here, you can see a little bit of a sliding glass door, or at least it's implied. And we might want to get rid of this part. It looked a little bit too thin, but something like this, that sounds like a, well, looks like it, doesn't sound like anything, but you get the idea. Then, in here, we close off this little section of the ceiling, and what do you know? A dark room. Well, we're gonna have to add a bit of lighting. So now it's time for the lighting, not the writing. I do that later. But anyways, we do a little bit of this action with some frog lights, and potentially, depending on what you're doing, some other kinds of blocks could work. Potentially the pearlescent frog light instead matches a little bit more with quartz, or you could just go full sea lantern, things like that. Keep this nice and bright. Versus my other builds where I attempt to play with more moody lighting, don't try it here. Essentially, you want to make this very, very brightly lit. And, well, I think I'm going to be able to do that. We're just going to incorporate a bunch of sea lanterns and such. If you don't have that, then you can try glowstone. If you don't have glowstone, maybe gather a few more resources before building the rest of this. But you can see right here, if we incorporate a lot of lighting, it looks really nice. So let's continue that. We also have this little desk here. Notice it's a little bit of a table on this end, some black carpet, one of those anti-stress mats, and then this dark room here. We're going to sort this out in a few clips from now, but of course, light it up. And what do you know? We're really getting somewhere. For now, let's worry about this area here that I never detailed. And this is our little outdoor seating. You can see the ground is all andesite and diorite, nice and bright. And then let's get in some fences. We can try a bunch of different kinds, but we can do this. So, just 2 gates here. We can try a bit more landscaping, yay. So something like this could work. You'd probably have to incorporate a few signs into this. So let's get out some signs and see how that looks. Of course, this is optional. What do you know? I think I'm probably going to stick with that one. You can try a whole bunch of things though. Right here, I finished up that area, added a roof, very simple. We have some campfires up here. Can be a little expensive, but it's very simplistic design. I feel like I was forgetting something. Yeah, that's better. If you're wondering, you can just use some shovels in order to put that out. But anyways, now we have a nice ceiling here, even though it can be a bit pricey. If it's a bit too much, then you could try something like oak trapdoors. If that's a bit too much, you might just want an open air and just have the frame of the ceiling. But anyways, it's a nice little area, so let's continue on. So remember these guys from the beginning? Build a bunch of these. However, you might not want to do the weighted pressure plate the whole time, because of course you can't place flower pots on them. But that's the general idea. We want something like that going on, so that way it's nice and cute. With our dining areas now complete, you can see a little bit of a cake right there. We got that flower pot, including a little laptop. That's a hidden chainmail helmet, if you're wondering. Well, this place is really coming together. And, well, we still have a few final details, such as a fudged out sign right here. You know how those are. Of course, added some slabs here because it was a little bit too jarring of a transition. And then we have to write out cafe in banners. That's going to be fun. I'm just going to speed up the footage of me making them so there's no confusion. Of course, if you're still confused, you can always ask questions about anything in the video. Of course, we have the menu. Oh, it's just every YouTuber's favorite quote, like and subscribe. And then we have the good old just pieces of a coffee shop. There's nothing super interesting here, but it's a nice place. If you're wondering, like, what else could you do if you're really interested in decorating it, you could do some paintings like this. I think this works really well. And of course, if you want to, you can hide more lighting throughout. Of course, I'm not entirely sure where, but potentially, who knows, you might be able to sneak some under there. No, that doesn't work. Well, anyways, you can try figuring out how to do more lighting because on the inside it can be a little dreary at night. And then, of course, right here we use pistons to shove these armor stands into the ground, and now they look like little pastries. We have an anti-stress mat right here. I'm not entirely sure what the real name is, but it prevents you from getting standing fatigue. And then right here we have the kitchen, which is unfinished. We also have a door back here to the dumpster, made of green terracotta and concrete. And you can also see some dried kelp for trash bags and some dirt around. If you want, you could also add a little bit of landscaping in the form of trees, but I think I'm probably going to pass on that because I'd like to put builds very close by for future videos. But anyways, yeah, we have a really nice place here. You can fill out a real menu if you want, and then we can work on the little drink machines. But remember, we do need some storage, because what, you think they just materialize everything out of thin air? I mean, if they did, that would explain how many coffee shops are in my town. That's like 2% of all buildings here, but anyways, you want to put little things. So let's say these planks right here, we can just call that the thing. Of course, don't do it like this. If you have trapdoors on top to act as lids, but they're the same thing as what's holding it up, that just looks weird, so let's avoid doing that. Instead, let's try coming up with more unique ways to cover them. We could try dark oak. Yeah, kinda. You could try slabs, you could do barrels, you could straight up just place concrete on there and make it look like colorful boxes, brand names, put buttons and signs on it in order to actually label them. All sorts of things. Remember, this is Minecraft. You can do most things as long as they abide by the grid rule. Alright, I think we have a good interior right here, filled with random things. Of course, we have the menu, and then we have little drink dispensers for lemonade, white, and the specialty. I don't know what it is. Sea pickles for the cups, hidden furnaces, actual functionality in my builds, unthinkable. And then we have a little painting right here for, you know, how I truly feel on the inside. Yeah, go write yourself a book. I'm going mad. But anyways, we have whatever this is. It's probably some sort of drink machine again. A cabinet, a bag full of coffee grounds, and then we have some things on the shelves. And then, of course, in case you were running out of those, we have gear cups made with 100% real coffee. And just to improve that, we also have this little sign that tells you to wash your hands, which is amazing. And we also have a refrigerator made of iron blocks. If that's too pricey for you, then use quartz. If that's too pricey for you, use white wool. If that's too pricey, polished diorite. And if that's too much, I'm a little confused now. If you're that poor, please tell me what stage of the game you are at in the comments. But anyways, we now have a really nice interior. And of course, going into spectator mode. And, oh, the whole game froze. That's fantastic. Well, anyways, we have a really nice thing, and it looks nice at night. We have some hidden carpets, sea lanterns, and such, and a whole bunch of stuff here. We even have a hidden sea lantern right here if I can get the right angling. I don't think I'm going to be able to, but trust me. So now it's just down to the looms. Can we get something right here? And let's do the cafe. With our text added along with that little chalkboard, we can see this build is complete. And well, it says cafe right there, or cafe. Yeah, good luck trying to put one of those apostrophes on top of the E. But anyways, now for this little chalkboard, you can see it's usually telling you, here's our daily special and it's something really good. And here's our sale, $7 lemonade. And I'm like, why? So yeah, typical coffee shop shenanigans. But it's really nice. From the back, you can see it's not too much, but I added the details, and it's a complete back, and it's intentionally a little drab. I mean, this is the front of the building. This is the pretty part. You're not meant to be looking at that. And it has a bunch of landscaping. It's nice and bright, hidden sea lanterns everywhere. From the top, you can see lots and lots of greenery. Well, hey, now you're environmentally friendly or something like that, and it looks pretty. So yay, we now have our cute cafe complete. Either way, enjoy the rest of your day. Gearsaw out.